Hey guys, welcome back to the next video. In this video, we are going to go to the next step after creating a DNS. Now, how do we verify that the DNS we created is actually working? Well, so go over to this website called dnschecker.org. In this website, you just put the website name and make sure that it's not on a record, it's on name server record because we have changed only the name server. So just click on search and you should be able to find AWS DNS over here. Now, this proves that the DNS has actually changed, and it took about a. I didn't check it, like I just waited for 30 minutes and went back to sleep. And today morning I woke up and I saw the changes was done. So normally it would take about 45 minutes for the changes to reflect, sometimes even more. So it depends on your situation. Now, pretty much the change on the DNS is done. So let's proceed with the next step. Now, do remember that do follow the GitHub page for the codes because I have written all the codes in the GitHub page. And currently we are in this step of creating or creating the installation configuration file. Now, what is this installation configuration file? Very simple. Installation configuration file will hold all the details about your infrastructure, what you want to create on AWS, and how you want to create it on it. So let's just talk about that for a second. So here on the EC2 console, I'm just going to type in the OpenShift install create install configuration. Do remember that the AWS configuration is already stored in the AWS. So if you reconnect the session, so that's not a problem because AWS will use an existing configuration which has kept it on the hidden folder, and it will just use the same username and the secret key and the secret itself, and it will access the or it will log into the AWS environment in the server. So you don't really have to worry about re-login into the AWS environment because it's already done so. Now, the next step is basically creating something called as the installation configuration. In this one, we are going to give an enter, and it says like installation configuration is created. I think it's because of some reason. All right, the reason why it just created immediately because I tried it before, and there is this temporary hidden files which actually had the parameter which I gave for the last time. So the last video was not that good, so I end up in a problem. So I had to recreate the video. So that's the reason why it just created. So now, when you hit enter, you should see the same thing on your screen as well. So here is where you have to select the different types of different types of options or platforms you can choose. Some of them are like the data center ones, like the vSphere, Power VS, like that. It's basically data center one, and some of them are cloud platforms like GCP, IBM, and then Azure and AWS. So now these are some of the options. So now this will remember the kind of a choice which you have to select when you are creating OpenShift on your AWS. So now we need to select AWS here, just hit enter, use up and down arrow mark to go up and down, and here we are going to use the US East one, which is Northern Virginia. So we just select that, and here you can see the base domain is already chosen as beyondcloud.online, so that should be good enough. And what's the cluster name? So I'll just give venky OCP, so this is the cluster name. And what is the full secret? You can copy from the file and paste it over here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to copy this and I'm going to paste it here. So now you can see that the installation configuration is created. Now let's just understand more about this installation configuration, what it has. Now firstly, go up. So this is going to be a proxy only version 1, and the domain base name is beyondcloud.online. So this is a registered domain. And here you have the architecture as AMD, and here you have hyper threading enabled with the name of this is as worker. So it's going to create a compute node over here in the name of worker, and it's going to have 3 replicas over here. You can reduce this if you are trying to save some money on AWS. But replica number 3 is the perfect number of replicas you should have for a proper OpenShift. And you have the control plane, which is your master node, and you have 3 replicas for it. And metadata name, as in like this is going to have the cluster name as Venkat OCP. I'm sorry, Venki OCP, and here you have the networking as cluster networking, and the host prefix, as well as like the mission network and the network type as Kubernetes network. And here in the platform, you have the AWS and the region, and then the VPC is going to be automatic, and then it's going to be published on the external network, like for the public network. And then you have the pull secret over here. So do ignore the pull secret. It's a long one, so yeah, I'm not showing you the 80% of the pull secret. Anyways, so there is this one thing which you need to do over here just to make sure that you have the right platform for this is basically under the platform. So you can remove this platform over here and then put a platform here like this. I'll copy paste this on the GitHub as well. So that you can copy paste it as well. So I've just put it like this over here, and this is going to be like this over here. So this is going to talk about platform, and under that you have AWS, and then it's going to talk about the type of instance it's going to create. Now, if you're not sure about the type of instance which is going to be created on this, so if this is real or something, so you want to check it out. So at the time of you seeing this video, may not be the one which this instance is available. So go to EC2, and there's something called instance type. So select that and paste this instance type, and you'll be able to see that it's not a free tier eligible instance. It has 4 CPUs and 16 GB of memory, and pretty much it is charged 0.15 US dollars per hour. So that's a good deal for us. I'm okay with it. The same thing you may need to do for here as well. So rather than platform close and open, you just need to put in AWS over here, type as T3AX large. So this is how we can define a type of instance on your on before you create the before you even create the clusters on AWS. So we can define this so that it doesn't create its own stuff, because sometimes it creates its own stuff which is much expensive than this. So we just restricted to stick with this. All right, sounds good. So that's pretty much done. So save and quit this file. Anyways, the secret will be deleted by then, so no need to worry about that. All right, so now the next command which we are going to execute is this one over here. So Openshift install create cluster. I will note this down on your on the GitHub as well. So now it's going to use the existing configuration, and it's going to create cluster. Now this process may take about 30 to 45 minutes of like an hour or so. And what it's going to do in this time is basically create a VPC, create subnets, create security groups, launch EC2 instance. There's going to be totally 6 nodes will be launched, 3 nodes on the worker compute node, and control plane or the master node will be 3. So total of 6 nodes, and then it's going to create load balancer DNS configuration and install OpenShift on all of these nodes, and going to configure masters and worker nodes, and going to integrate them. All those activities is going to be done. That's the reason why it takes about that much time. Please do not close this terminal or interrupt this terminal, because this process will lead to something called a login console. So the login console will be displayed over here after you have created. There are other ways to retrieve that also, so it's not a big deal, but you have to log into the machine to retrieve it. So if you close this console, so it may take a longer time for you to retrieve the URL, and this could be a shorter one. So anyways, let's just work with this, execute this command, and I'll show you on the next video on the successful execution. I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.